the fact that their youth population is ignored and not included within their own social fabric, and the only classification is whatever passport you carry in that land. Did you sense that hope from them, or that vision, as they claim they have vision as leaders, Jordan or whatever the other Arabian Peninsula countries? Did you feel that from them in person, that they really taking step by step on the ground policies to no racism in the future, no discrimination based on your passport that you carry with you, that shrink the whole identity of you as a bunch of palm-sized book? Did you sense that from them? Because you've been
there's two answers, because
Thank you.
every one of them is aware that over the long term, the autocratic model isn't sustainable. I think they all know that. The question is how quickly, I mean, if they loosen too much, is it going to blow up, and are they going to be moving to Switzerland because they can't live in their country anymore, quite honestly. But the other one about ethnicity and guest workers, people there, I don't know. I think I did hear disparaging statements. I'm hesitant to go any further than that, but about people from other countries working there and not considering them as having the same rights. Yeah, I did hear that. But that was more about guest workers in the Gulf. Yeah.
I guess my question, well, not, she took half of it, but the other half is coming, is that we don't really know. I mean, particularly I can say for myself, as to curriculum changes that have gone on in those countries, and you were well aware. I mean, obviously you were doing a lot of research. You must have met some of their scholars and that. Are they really genuinely interested in re-examining their past in terms of in relation to the present, and find solutions as to how this civilization became so stagnated? Are they teaching their younger generation? Because we learn from our past. I mean, I'm a counselor, and we always talk about that. So I'm asking a question in terms of, because I don't have access to it, most of us don't in North America. And the resentment or the negative response to when we do present something positive is always quite not taken very nicely. I can say from personal experience that in my counseling, I was talking about, it was at the mental health, and this is an American Psychiatric Association, and I was presenting in terms of the human, the theory of how psychology and sociology looks at human development in terms of. So it's a holistic approach to. They don't divide body, mind, and soul. And there was a great negativity that this is, you know, and it was a Spanish. He's a Spanish. He's a psychiatrist. He's a staff. He then said, when I was finished, he then brought the whole history. He said how the psychology was developed and how relevant that was. We have now dissected it into little pieces. So my question then is that those people, children, young people and all that, if that is the history that we now looking at, and you have spent a great amount of energy and time, are they have some understanding? Are they teaching? Are they learning from it?
You mean in the countries I've gone
Yes,
to
that you
outside
have
North
traveled.
America?
Mostly you covered all the Muslim countries, and you've done a lot of research.
I think it's every country has someone who says that this is important. But like, for example, I was speaking to an audience in Washington, D.C. that was all diplomats from Muslim countries. And everybody was there. It was at the Jordanian embassy. And one person stood up and said, I don't think the world needs this. We already know this. We were taught it in school. And somebody else stood up next to them from the same Arab country and said, what are you talking about? People don't know this. So I don't know what the answer is. There's an argument going on, but whether there's a commitment, for example, Sheikh Amosa in Qatar. I mean, I've talked to her, and she's sponsored some projects that promote this. The Saudi leadership seems to be pretty committed to it. Some of the other Gulf places, I think they find it irrelevant and boring. Why do we want to talk about that? It's a long time ago. It doesn't matter. These tend to be the the rich Gulf places.
So really there's a disconnect between the history and that. Yeah, we also never learned anything. We learned, I mean, I was even when we were young in Kashmir, I was growing up in England. I was in grammar school. The first time I ever heard or learned, it was because we were supposed to do a project, and I didn't know that my classmate was Spanish. And then she chose Spain, and I said, what are we going to do right about Spain? I mean, it's a European country. She said, don't you know that the Muslims were there? I said, which Muslims were there? It was the first time that I learned that there was such a thing as the Moors who ruled Spain. And so obviously we ourselves have neglected to learn from our history. But the difficult part is, someone has mentioned that, is that as we now trying to bring it out and say, fine, we're not going to live in the past, but nonetheless you must learn from the past, the positive and the negative, and then so you sort of develop further. So that was a question. So obviously that explains then, because really when you meet people from there, they really don't really understand their own history very well.
I mean, one disturbing thing that I've come across is that in a lot of Muslim countries, some people have adopted the Western colonial interpretation of their own history, and they think there's a dysfunctionality in it, and so they don't really want to go into it because it will uncover things that they don't want to know that are bad. That's really unfortunate.
Very important point. Yes, thank you.
One last question.
Yes, one last
Okay.
Good evening. Just to say, the question might be quick, the answer's incredible. Just with all your experience in that, with some lateral thinking about the problems that Arabic countries have had with dictators and that, being British in origin, and questioning everything in life, I'm wondering what your point of view might be to the fact that I'm tending to feel that the problems with dictators in the Arabic world has been caused by the greed of the Europeans and the way they set the dictators up, and then by extension the way that Europeans treated the Jews in past gone centuries, which now causes the problem with Palestine. So historically, as the lady, I think this lady or somebody was saying about learning from the past, do you think the problems we have now will directly relate back to my ancestry, basically? Because
Yeah. No, look, Britain has given us a lot. I mean, my gosh, a center of enlightened governance and so on. It took it a while to get there, but it started from a very, gosh, we're talking about more than 1,000 years. But I think it's a factor, of course, European meddling, and now American got to protect the oil flow and all that has contributed. I don't think it's the only factor, but it's there. Whether it's the determining factor, I don't know. But it is real.
yeah, okay. Can I just say one quick thing that was started by Arima and friend back there? You've got Occupy Toronto. Please, there's a tent down there, an Islamic tent. Please go down there. They're wonderful people. Don't listen to the press, because the press are portraying them in the wrong way. There's having wonderful discussions at a real base level. It takes a lot to understand the mentality, though, because it's about lateral organization. There's no hierarchy. So it takes a lot to get your brains around it. If we, because I go down there, I'm a real believer in democracy. That's why I'm here anyway. If we as a society can do this all over the world, we can end up with an incredible world. But we've got to be prepared to listen to each other, no egos, and go down. But please go down there and support people and us. Thank you.
Oh,
I'm
another
going to
one.
make it very, very quick. I'm just wondering if we could use history in today's environment in the West and North America in particular to fight Islamophobia.
I think so. If we personify it, make it compelling and entertaining, I think it's hard to ask the average person to go back this far and this deeply. That's why I'm working on the film. But yeah, I think it needs to be done. It's just got to be cognizant of the reality of what we live in now, which is iPods and stuff, and video games.
Huh? My turn to thank the speaker, Samira's generosity, and all of yours to come at this time of the night to listen to the lecture. So let me start off by thanking Michael for his wonderful presentation. And wonderful is not the word that captures what he has just presented. I think it's very informative. It's almost walking us back to the history that even us Muslims have no idea what it accomplished and how we can use those philosophical thoughts and practical know-how and apply it to our life in this society. That means we need to also learn that we are part and parcel of society and we must actively involve ourselves. And it doesn't matter really at what level do we do, whether it's just sort of basically smiling at somebody in a place or just looking at, offering someone some help, talking to your neighbor, or anything small to large. So I think that would be my lesson from what Michael has said. And I truly am grateful he's come a long way and to present. And genuinely, he has worked extremely hard. If you look at the other books that I got that, and in terms of bringing the message that we can all live together in peace. And finally, I think in his caliber and the level that he's at, he's presenting it to all of us. So I want to thank you, Michael, for you coming here. And I wish you a safe and pleasant journey tomorrow to Kingston. And now I also like to thank Samira for her hospitality, for giving us a space. And well, let me finish, then we're going to clap. And I haven't finished yet. And also really almost sort of adopting Islamic History in Canada as part of their programs and that. And I think that's wonderful. That's my hope, because I'm looking forward to, in time, inshallah, with the help of people like Samira and most of you, that we will be able to develop an institute, eventually stand alone, because it is a registered entity on its own. So I think that potential exists. And then we can look at all the curriculums and all of that under one roof and begin to develop something which is more cohesive, which is more, involves a lot more people into it than us isolated in somewhere and doing our own thing. So Samira, I thank you very much for your thing. And I also like to thank all of you for coming and asking very valid questions. And I hope that you will buy the book. There are 15 books out there. Those are the only ones which were left. And I think that certainly would be a great, and so what else can I say? Just to thank you all and good night and assalamu alaikum.